good morning, good afternoon, or good evening depending on where and when you are listening. Let me ask you something that may seem simple at first. What is one thing every single person in this room and in the world has in common? The answer is relationships. Every single one of us is part of them. We have families, friends, classmates, co-workers, romantic partners, neighbors, teammates, and communities. Whether we think about them or not, relationships are all around us, and they play a central role in shaping our mental health, emotional well-being, and overall happiness. We celebrate when our relationships are going well. We suffer deeply when they're not. Some of the greatest joy in life comes from a meaningful conversation, a shared laugh, or a hug from someone who cares. And some of the worst pain comes from a betrayal, a falling out, or simply feeling disconnected from those around us. So, the real question is not whether we have relationships, but how do we maintain healthy ones? Today, I want to talk to you about that very question. We're going to explore 5 key principles that can help us build and maintain relationships that are not only healthy, but also enriching, respectful, and lasting. Let's begin with the first and most essential building block, communication. Communication, the heart of connection. We often hear that communication is important, but we don't always stop to think about what that really means. Communication isn't just about talking, it's about connecting. Healthy communication is rooted in honesty, clarity, and most importantly, listening. And not just passive listening, where you're nodding while thinking about what you're going to say next, but active listening, where you're genuinely trying to understand what the other person is saying and feeling. When we communicate openly and respectfully, we create trust and closeness. We feel safe. We feel understood. But when we ignore, interrupt, or shut people down, we damage that sense of safety. Let's think about an example. Imagine you're trying to tell a friend about something that's been bothering you. Before you can finish, they interrupt you and say, "You're overreacting. Just get over it." How would that make you feel? Probably dismissed, maybe even hurt. Now imagine a different response. Your friend listens, makes eye contact, and says, "That sounds really tough. I'm sorry you're going through that." No judgment, just presence. That's the power of healthy communication. So next time someone opens up to you, pause, put your phone down, make eye contact, and listen with the intention to understand, not to fix. And when it's your turn to speak, be honest but kind. Say what you feel, not what you think they want to hear. And never underestimate the power of simply saying, "I hear you." Respect and boundaries. Knowing where you end and others begin, the second pillar of healthy relationships is respect. And one of the most powerful ways to show respect is by honoring boundaries. A boundary is not a wall. It's not a punishment. A boundary is a limit that protects your emotional, physical, or mental space. And setting boundaries doesn't mean you're pushing people away. It means you care enough about the relationship to make sure it's built on mutual understanding and consent. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're someone who needs alone time to recharge. Maybe after work or school, you like a little peace and quiet before hanging out. That's not being rude or antisocial. It's knowing yourself. If someone you're close to expects you to be available every second, and you explain kindly that you need space, that's a boundary. A healthy person will respect it. On the other hand, it's equally important to respect other people's boundaries. Maybe your friend doesn't want to talk about a certain topic, or your partner needs time before resolving a conflict. Respecting those boundaries is an act of love and maturity. Boundaries also come into play with emotional safety. If someone speaks to you in a disrespectful tone, belittles your feelings, or crosses lines you're not comfortable with, it's not only okay to set a boundary, it's necessary. Healthy relationships are built on the idea that your needs matter, and so do theirs. And when we learn to speak up respectfully and listen without defensiveness, we build a foundation that lasts. Trust, the foundation beneath it all trust, is the invisible thread that holds all healthy relationships together. Without it, everything else falls apart, no matter how well you communicate or how much time you spend together. Trust is earned, not assumed. It is built over time through consistent actions, honesty, and reliability. You don't have to be perfect to be trusted, but you do have to be genuine. Let's consider what builds trust. Showing up when you say you will, being honest even when it's uncomfortable, keeping your promises, respecting confidentiality, and being emotionally consistent. These are not flashy actions. They are quiet, everyday decisions that create a sense of safety and reliability. And what breaks trust? Lying, cheating, gossiping, emotional neglect, or repeatedly breaking boundaries. These actions might be forgiven, but they're never forgotten easily. Rebuilding trust takes time, humility, and a deep willingness to take responsibility for past behavior. In any relationship, trust is not just about big betrayals. It's also about the small things. Do you listen when someone shares their feelings? Do you remember important details about their life? Do you show up when it matters? If you want others to trust you, be the kind of person whose words and actions match. And if someone has broken your trust, remember this. Forgiveness is your choice, but rebuilding trust is a two-way street. Time and presence. Relationships don't run on autopilot. We live in a fast-paced world. Everyone is busy. We are constantly distracted by our phones, our schedules, and our to-do lists. But here's the truth. You cannot have a healthy relationship without giving it your time and attention. Time is love. Presence is power. You don't need to spend all day with someone to have a strong relationship. But the time you do spend should be meaningful. That means being present. Not scrolling through your phone while they talk. Not thinking about work during dinner. And not rushing through conversations because you're too busy. Think of relationships like plants. If you don't water them, they wither. The same goes for friendships, romantic partnerships, and even family bonds. They require intentional care. Ask yourself, when was the last time you had a deep conversation with a close friend? When did you last check in on a loved one just to see how they were doing? How often do you make time for the people who matter most to you? In a world of short attention spans and constant distractions, giving someone your full attention is one of the most generous things you can do. Conflict, it's not about winning, it's about understanding. Lastly, let's talk about conflict, something most people fear, but something no relationship can avoid. Disagreements are natural. In fact, if you never disagree with someone close to you, chances are you're not being completely honest. The goal in a healthy relationship is not to avoid conflict, but to handle it with maturity, respect, and empathy. The way we approach conflict reveals a lot about our character. Do we get defensive? Do we yell or withdraw? Do we attack the person instead of the problem? Healthy conflict resolution starts with emotional regulation. Take a breath, step away if you need to cool down, and return to the conversation with the goal of understanding, not proving your point. Use I statements instead of you accusations. Say, I felt hurt when you canceled our plans, rather than you always let me down. This simple change shifts the tone from blame to honesty. And listen, really listen. Even if you disagree, try to see the situation from the other person's perspective. Conflict handled with care can actually bring people closer together, because it opens the door for growth and mutual understanding. Conclusion: relationships as living, breathing things. So, how do we maintain healthy relationships? We begin by communicating with honesty and compassion. We set boundaries and respect those of others. We build trust with consistency and integrity. We invest time and attention into the people who matter to us. And we handle conflict with patience and emotional intelligence. Relationships are not one-time achievements. They are living, breathing parts of our lives. They require maintenance, effort, and sometimes even repair. But when we invest in them, truly invest in them, they become the most rewarding parts of our human experience. Think of the people in your life, the ones who love you, the ones who challenge you, the ones who lift you up when you're down. Imagine what could happen if you brought just a little more presence, a little more patience, and a little more empathy to those connections. Let's be people who listen, people who respect, people who forgive, and people who grow. Because in the end, we won't be remembered for the things we achieved or the money we made. We'll be remembered for how we made others feel. And that starts with choosing to love, to care, and to build relationships that are not just healthy, but life-changing. Thank you.